Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Randy. I'm a recovering perfectionist. If any of you know what that's like, it can be debilitating. It can also be good. I'm a Virgo, so my birthday's coming up next month. And if you read about Virgos, they're all about creases and folding and perfection and categories. I gave that up. I did iron my shirt. Okay, I'll admit that this morning. We'll be talking today about exactly what Cheryl, she's so intuitive. That's why she said, is there any reading you'd like? I said, I trust you'll find the perfect one, because I do. I always do. I always know she knows exactly, well, maybe not what I'm going to say, but whenever any practitioner, any platform leader asked me if they would like me to say something, I always prefer much to leave it to synchronicity, I guess you could call it. So living in a world, being happy and being loving without the conditions is exactly what Cheryl was talking about. How do we navigate this world? How do we experience peace, lovingness, happiness without the conditions needing to be perfect? One example that I thought as I was sitting there listening to that great song, by the way, you guys rocked it, man. Oh, so beautiful. I love being home. I love being in the audience for a change, not having to think of my chords. So I started out playing here as a musician many years ago whenever Skip Connolly was here. We had a fantastic memorial life celebration for him yesterday. And one of the first things that I noticed when I first came here was the milk crates, And I thought, surely they're going to change those, surely they're going to put carpeted things. So yesterday, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, they're still here, and good that they are. You probably never noticed them until now, huh? See? You notice every day. You're like, ugh. Can we paint them? That's what being a recovering perfectionist is all about. Being able to live in a situation where things are not perfect. Things aren't aligned just right. It's like when you're trying to meditate, and the dog keeps barking. Well, we have a beagle that lives up above us now, so every morning, moo. What is that? So I sent my neighbor a text, and I said, Thea, is that you howling again? She says, you caught me. So we have a great neighborhood, by the way. She's a professional pet sitter, so that's real nice. But so when I'm meditating and there's howling, or that's just when somebody starts to install their new roof, and I hear that and I think, oh, if they would just be quiet, I could concentrate. Then I catch myself and think, no, your inner peace needs to bubble up, needs to percolate large enough that you integrate it all. So how are we going to navigate this world and live in a world where some people, quite frankly, rub us the wrong way, or we don't quite like what they wear or how they believe or what their politics might be? I mean, there are families anymore that can't even speak to each other just because of their disagreements. So I have these three tortoises in the backyard now: Dorothy, Toto, and Junior. Junior's not their offspring. He just got caught in the glue trap I had set out front for the rat that I can't seem to catch. So Michael comes to the door and he said, you have a visitor at the front door. And I think, oh no, that mouse must be caught in there. But no, it's a little baby turtle. And I think, what are you doing in there? No. So I carefully cut it out and put vegetable oil on to get him out. And so now he's in the backyard running around like crazy. But they all feed at different times and they can't stand each other. They just avoid each other. So I'll wake up in the morning and here comes Toto coming up the little yellow brick road. I know, I really do. I have a yellow brick road in my backyard. If you remember the downtown mall, remember they used to have that yellow brick road? Well, I have some of that in my backyard, and I made a yellow brick road, and I painted it more yellow. And so it's back there. And this turtle Toto comes up and it starts to eat, but then Dorothy is hiding behind the trash canister. So as soon as I feed Toto, Dorothy runs out and grabs Toto's food, So I have to put more food out there. And then I fed Junior a piece of egg yesterday, and then Dorothy stole his egg. So, Dorothy? And so I had to feed him more egg, and I think, goodness, people, can't you all just get along so I can at least feed you at the same time? No. So But they've created a world that works for them. Or I should say, they've made me create a world that works for them. And you know, Bonnie has cute little tortoises, right? How many do you have? Just one? You need more? Well, while I was gone, I just want you to know I'm expecting. So while I was gone, Michael sent me a video of a turtle tussle. Well, evidently, Toto is a Dorothy, and Dorothy is a Toto. You know what I mean? So, anybody wanting baby tortoises coming up, call me, okay? We'll give you some. But I thought of that illustration this morning because it's a world that works for them. They don't hang out, they don't text each other, they just avoid each other and they run from each other all the time and they grab each other's food, but it works out and they're all happy. The thing about our animal brethren is that when they fight or whatever, like when a lion chases a zebra and it doesn't catch it, within 15 minutes that zebra's back to just doing its zebra thing, grazing, and it's forgotten about all of that. That fight or flight system has kicked in, but after that's over, it just says, okay, well, I'm still alive, and I'm back to grazing or doing whatever zebras do. Because animals can let go. Animals don't hold grudges, thank goodness, right? Otherwise, we'd be in trouble. We'd have cows chasing us. So today, I will talk about how we can live experience more a life that is conditionless, and how we can cultivate that unconditional kind of love. Emma Lazarus, do you all know who she is? She was, I should say. She was the author of the New Colossus sonnet that's at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Well, she once wrote that until we are all free, none of us are free. And I take that further now to the Dalai Lama, who once said, love and compassion are necessities. They're not luxuries, and without them, humanity cannot survive. I was taping a radio interview recently for the new low power station that we have here. And the interviewer brought me in, and he had a list of questions, and he said, one of the questions that I have is, where does empathy come from? And he said, because, okay, let's say that I don't believe in God, and I'm not a Christian, and I don't believe any of that stuff, but yet I still donate, I still give to charity, and I still do that kind of work. And he said, and I don't expect any reward for it. So where does it come from? And I thought, okay, well, part of it, what I understand is empathy. And this has been shown in a lot of studies where they show that empathy is based in the amygdala part of the brain and the cortex part, which I can't remember what that part's called. One of the cortexes. So there's theories that sociologists and anthropologists have suggested that empathy and altruism, it evolved as we evolved. Like, think of it. Think if you're in a tribe or a clan of 50 people and they all have individual needs. They're all concerned about their own needs only. Well, it's not a sustainable way to live. So there's some belief that we developed empathy and altruism about the same time that we developed religion, so that we can cooperate and support each other. So I said to him, it's a possibility that came from our evolution as humans, as a way to cooperate. Then I reminded him once again, like I've said here in the past, when the Sioux tribes, when they do anything, make any decision for the tribe, they do it with the seventh generation in mind. That's where that term seventh generation comes out of. That it's always done with the seventh generation in mind. So in other words, how is this going to affect not my grandchildren or their grandchildren, but all the way out? So in this way, you are ensuring that your main concern is not an immediate self-concern out of maybe fear or a response to some kind of threat. So I'm not sure if he liked that answer or not. I don't know when the interview is going to air, but he's been interviewing a lot of religious leaders. about that kind of thing, and I forgot the name of his program. It's on Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock, so I don't quite remember what that is. Anyway, I'll have it on my website when I do know it. So is empathy inherent? Is compassion taught? Is it something that we have to learn? You know how good you feel when you do help someone? When you help someone and you get that rush? Well, those are caused by hormones and endorphins within your body. Every thought that we produce immediately creates a chemical reaction within our body, a hormonal response to make sure that what we're thinking corresponds with what we're feeling. What sometimes happens, though, is there's a loop that'll happen. If you're constantly thinking the way that you're feeling, then you're feeling the way that you're thinking, well, you can see how that'll get a little messy after a while. So is empathy something that is natural? Do we do it because it feels good? Do we do it because it makes us happy? Or because it boosts our immune system, which it's actually been shown to do? So is all of that coming out of needing to get along or wanting to get along? So I'm talking to this interviewer, and he says, well, are there any religions that you're afraid of? And I said, oh, gosh, no. I'm more afraid of people, not necessarily religions. He said, is there a religion that you feel threatened by? And I said, no, of course not. And he says, well, what if somebody doesn't like who you are? And I said, well, a lot of people don't like who I am. And so he's getting frustrated with me. I'm not giving these easy little answers. And so he says, well, I don't understand you. And I said, look, no matter what happens, if I'm at the grocery store and somebody has fewer items than I do, I let them in before me. If I'm driving, no matter what city it's in, and somebody is trying to get out of a parking lot, I'm the guy who's going to stop and let them in. If somebody needs to get into my lane when I'm on Highway 10 through Texas doing 85, it's legal, by the way, I'll let them in. And he said, oh, come on, there has to be some day where you're not perfect. And I said, oh, no, I said nothing about perfection. Remember, I'm a recovering perfectionist. This is about how I live my life and my expectations of how I behave and how I respond to life. And I was explaining to him, this creates a chain reaction of events where you start to notice those kind of actions within your own life. And certainly it's true. So why do we want a world that works for everyone? Like my turtles, I know they'd be happy if they're the only one, in my backyard. Well, some of them would. Why do we want a world that works for everyone? What's the benefit to us for a world that's working for everyone? Anybody have any thoughts about that? Any ideas? Just throw them out. Happiness? Very good. Survival. Great. Exactly. So if everyone's needs are being met, is kind of what I'm hearing, then maybe there won't be a need for wanting what you have. But what about those people over there who dress that way or who worship that other god? Or what about those people who say mean things to each other and carry signs around? Do we want a world that works for them too? And let's not even talk about my ex, please, No idea. No. Just kidding. So, moving from a condition, a world that works for everyone with condition, moving into a world without conditions, what I call a conditionless world, takes some work. There are 7 billion people on this planet, each of them with their own desires, wants, and expectations, and they don't always gel with what we want to be doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between conditional love and unconditional love. And I'll start by saying, I love you. I love you. Oh, I know you love me. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you all. I have this friend, when he drinks too much, he does that too. I love you, man. I love all of you. Put down the bottle. Okay. You've heard of Ayn Rand, right? Not exactly famous for, well, to just read her work, which I actually really like. In her book, The Fountainhead, this one character says, to say I love you, one must first know how to say the I. I love you. I love you. And so as opposed to just love you. So when we're talking about conditional love, it really applies to every other facet within our life too. What conditional love is, it's really what people consider to be a polarized emotion. And the opposite of that love is, of course, fear, or it can also be hatred. Conditional love comes from the ego. I will love you if you do this, if you fulfill this, if you behave this way, if you bring me chocolates every morning, whatever. By the way, I will love you if you do that. So, we say to people without saying it, I marry people, you marry people, some other people do here as well, and those words in there, we've been tweaking them for quite some time. We don't do the love, honor, and obey anymore. We just say, look, are you gonna put up with all the quirks? And, you are good. How about you? Because that is the reality of what love is. Usually when we say we love somebody, it's the conditional kind. We attach it to a job. We attach it to a partner, to a kid, to a child. But if they act the way that we want them to, then we express our approval. And if you don't believe that, just watch somebody. Well, there's that commercial where this young woman's going off to college, and she goes outside, and her parents have bought her this enormous, beautiful new car with a bow wrapped around it. I love you, she says, Whereas if they had given her an old Yugo or something, probably wouldn't be expressing that kind of thing. So, but if people act contrary to our wishes, well, then we withhold that expression and that acceptance of them. Usually that comes in the form of anger, or anybody who's ever been in a relationship can come in the form of silence. I don't know which is more dangerous there, but so when someone acts in a way that deviates from our expectations, or when a situation is not meeting our expectations of what we think we need to experience love, then the other end comes out, the hatred and anger, those emotions that separate us as far from our source as we can possibly be. They make it about the ego. We want to push back and say, you're not loving me the way that you're supposed to. So let's talk about unconditional love. Unconditional love is a neutral kind of love. It has no opposite polarity. The reason is because it's based in spirit. Unconditional love is spirit. Spirit in action, definitely. And unconditional love, I have found it comes to us at the soul level, at the deepest level. It's, I use the analogy constantly about every second we're losing 10 million cells within our body that have just died to replace, and then we immediately get 10 million that are regenerated within our body. Who's doing that? There's some force that loves us enough to keep us going without us even having to do anything about it. That's pretty phenomenal. And unconditional love is at the level of self-acceptance, self-forgiveness. It radiates divine love to everything and to everyone. The reason is because it's from a larger place. It's from a more meaningful, a substantial place within us. But the unconditional love can only be experienced and expressed to others if we do that about ourselves. That self-love has to be, it's an inside job. That's what I'm basically trying to say. And it requires us to be vulnerable, doesn't it? It requires us to open our hearts to receive love and to express love. I experience unconditional love when I'm performing for my audience. And I've learned that I've been trying to integrate that more into my daily life, of course. But when I'm performing for an audience, there is something at work much greater than my tiredness, than my exhaustion, than my frustration about that baby that won't stop crying. I just do it, and I love it all, and it really comes across, I think, as far as music goes. But unconditional love, it means that we consciously commit ourselves to expressing what? Respect, kindness, cooperation to everyone and everything within our environment too. And so those are the aspects of unconditional love, and I think you all probably really get it. I experienced really some of my best moments of unconditional love is when I've been with people as they make their transition. There's a certain grace that comes over there. There's a resigned grace, I guess is the only way that I can call it. And when my partner with the last few hours from cancer was making that transition, that was a reminder to me, and I try to use it as a touchstone of, in this moment, there's no place I'd rather be. There's nothing I would rather be doing. I am at my highest good. Some of us, when we're of service, that's absolutely when we're at our best. And that's not for everyone, but some of us definitely have that calling. And pretty much we all want to be of service. And I think making a world that works for everyone has to do with that. Werner Erhard, you guys know who he was. He was one of the people who really was instrumental in formulating the whole concept of a world that works for everyone. He says, you and I want our lives to matter. We want our lives to make a real difference, to be of a genuine consequence in this world. We know that there is no satisfaction in merely going through the motions, even if these motions make us successful, or even if we have arranged these motions to be pleasant. We want to know that we have some impact on the world. In fact, you and I want to contribute to the quality of life. We want to make the world work. And that's really what it takes. How you see your role in making this a world that works for everyone. First, identify what works for you. One of the helpful things to do is look at your life and see what areas in your life are conditionless, okay? Some of us, we go to work because we have to. We hate our job. Some of us are in this situation. We'd rather not be in it, but we have obligations to other people. The more we can try to find that happiness in there, that peace, that presence, without doing anything, without the expectations of anything back. That's a really big part of it. And find the balance that works for you, of course, too, because if you don't find that balance, then you'll get burnout. You'll feel taken for granted of. The other day I was buying a Mega Million ticket. I didn't win it, evidently. Somebody in California. And a Powerball. I thought, well, why not, So I got it from the cashier, and she said, do you want the power play? And I said, no, 320 million is probably plenty. And she said, well, it doesn't matter. It's all evil. And I said, what? She said, money is the root of all evil. And I said, is that right? I said, really? You think that? She said, oh, yeah. It's the whole reason that people fight and kill each other. It's the root of all evil. And I said, well, that's good to know. Then I won't feel the need to share any of my winnings with you. And so, I probably would, okay, but a cup of coffee. But that's the heart of the matter as I see it. How do you hold in your consciousness what it takes to make a world that works for everyone? In other words, do you have a thought that in order for somebody to be wealthy, that other people need to be poor? Do you have a thought that if they're rich, they're probably bad, they're probably evil? Maybe people get what they deserve? How do you honestly feel at a gut level when you see a homeless person walking towards your car in the Albertsons parking lot? How do you honestly feel? Explore that. That's going to tell you how you are, where you are on that spectrum of manifesting a world that works for everyone. Do you feel guilty? Do you feel annoyed, angry, sympathy, pity, compassion, powerless? Ask yourself that. It's a really helpful thing to do. Do you feel that there are enough resources to go around everybody? That's a big part of it. So asking and answering those questions to yourself will help you know where you are. See, the world that we want to make that works for everyone, guess what? It's an inside job, not an external job, not an outside job. I've learned there are several ways of seeing life's circumstances. See if you resonate with any one of these. The first is things happen to you. Second is things happen through you. The third, things happen by you. The fourth, things happen with you. You might even say, I could be so happy if this happened, like Cheryl mentioned too. So which one of you are those? This is a long way of saying that to make a world work for everyone, we need to find out what works for us, and we need to also know what it takes to make a world that works for everyone. I think it takes two things, belief and freedom. First of all, a belief that we're in cooperation with a force and a source greater than we are, an infinite source of more than we can possibly experience, more good and happiness and love than we can ever experience in our entire lifetimes. So we have to have that belief first, that what we are outputting into this source is our experience in life. And then the freedom to let others be exactly who they are, regardless of our expectations of how we think they should be. And that is a big challenge. If you look at the news lately, you think, how could this be happening? Well, we have to train ourselves to respond to what we don't like in this world, as opposed to react. Have you looked at that word react? And then act. You're reacting these emotions that aren't necessarily healthy for you. Respond to situations. You can watch what's going on in Virginia, and you can choose to respond. And you know that every time that you make a choice to respond in a way that furthers peace and cooperation and forgiveness and love, you evolve. You become closer to the path that of your soul. Your soul is here to experience everything. So everything is good. You know that term, it's all good? It's true. It really is. It's very true. So in responding to any situation where you see lack, where you see a lack of love, we as conscious people, as spiritual people, we're here because we believe in a source higher than us and that we cooperate with, life happening with us. Choose to respond in a way. Find that love. Like Ernest Holmes is always saying, look deep enough and you'll find the love in any situation. And you really, really can. You have to go deep within yourself and find that and look and bless every situation. Bless it with abundance. Bless it with prosperity. Bless it with love. As my friend Kay always says, bless the mess. You know, that's one of her favorite sayings. Buckminster Fuller, Bucky, we're on good terms. He used to ask his audiences every single time for 46 years, he would say, how do we make a world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological damage or disadvantage to anyone? He's pretty smart, wasn't he? So in wrapping up, I just want to let you know that the world is not hopeless. The world is not ending. The world... this earth can take care of us and itself. It's been doing that for quite some time. We can take care of what? Each other and ourselves. There's this organization, Swedish organization called Give Directly. They're at givedirectly.org. They have an experiment going on for the next 12 years. They started it just this last fall. They're giving every adult in this village in Kenya, $22 extra a month for 12 years. It's attached to their phone, so they get these little ding, 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 and they know. Unconditionally, spend it however you want it. This is to say to the world, your theories about poverty are all wrong. And how we handle poverty is fundamentally flawed. So they've given people money. And there's this one guy, his only income that he has for his entire family is he makes coal. He makes charcoal, which is quite a process, but he's running out of wood. So with those $12, you know what he said? He said, I'm going to plant a forest. He's planting a big forest of eucalyptus trees because they make really good charcoal. So he's doing that, and in turn, his children are now going to school. It just went everywhere. Then there's this one guy, nobody wanted to hire him because he had some developmental disabilities. And so they didn't want to hire him because he was too slow. He'd get distracted. So he's now getting that money, and he built a shack for himself out behind his parents' house. And you know what he wanted more than anything was a couch, so that when people came over, he could entertain them. So they would have a place to sit. That's all he wanted. He wanted to build a house with a couch comfortable enough for visitors to come over. That's what a guaranteed income of unconditional does. Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, they're doing amazing work to, they're dedicated to the long-term health and well-being of Earth's inhabitants, clean water, better resources, Doctors Without Borders, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many good things. Find what it takes for you to investigate, align with those things. Plenty of ways to volunteer here, plenty of ways to help. I mean, the CSL could use your help. I was noticing they need help with that water jug. They need a volunteer to fill it up. So you can be that person.
Skip used to do that.
Yeah, I know. So just real quickly, when the siege on Sarajevo was over, it was a really stressful time. The people who survived that all said, I miss those days. I don't know how to be part of the world anymore, because they had so little, they were living in such terror that they helped each other through everything. And they got so used to that cooperation, to that love, to looking out not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. Same thing happened after 9/11 in New York City. Same thing has happened through any country that has experienced that kind of siege. So it is possible for us to make this world one that we want to be, but it has to be an inside job. It has to be, we have to align with what we really believe that's possible in this world. And there are ways, really just simply look for them. And I'll leave you with the loving kindness meditation. You guys know about that? The loving kindness meditation. It's also called metta, M-E-T-T-A, a Pali word for unconditional friendliness. I say to myself when I feel that I'm getting a little too caught up in the version of the world that the news would like us to believe is the only thing going on, you simply go inside. You go in here to that internal place of the Most High, that chamber inside, and you say, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be peaceful, may I live with ease. And once you've developed that feeling of your heart space glowing and growing a little bit, you turn that to someone else, put them in front of you in your mind's eye, and you say, may you be happy, may you be healthy. May you live with ease. May you be peaceful. Whatever words come to you, it's just fine. You can project that to this entire planet, this entire world. And it changes not only your experience in the world, it changes your world. And that is a world that's going to work for everyone. Namaste.